What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astrodfs, and in today's video, I'm going over Week 7's cash plays. So these are for if you do double ups, if you do head-to-heads, anything to kind of double your bankroll, right? This isn't the tournament GPP. This is where you're making safer plays that a lot of the field is going to be playing because they project the best, they have the best, points per salary, all that. So let's get into it. Go position by position here. Quarterback, Jaden Daniels at 6,900 going in against Dallas. Dallas is, if they're not the worst, they're then bottom three, however you want to say it, but they are a bottom defense in the league. Washington gets Jaden Daniels back, who against the Bears, 23.6 points. Against the Chargers, 17.1. And now gets a really, really bad Bears defense. So this does seem like a game where Jaden Daniels has one of those 30-plus point games where he's able to rush, he's able to throw everything against this Dallas team. It's a division game. It's at a, last I looked, 55-point total. And we're getting Jaden Daniels for cheap, in my opinion. For where Jaden Daniels should be, he should be at least 7,300, 7,400 in this matchup, but we get him under 7K, so he seems like a really, really good play. Other than that, I look at Mahomes at 7K if you, for some reason, want to pay $1,000 more. Vegas has played running backs pretty well. Kansas City can't run the ball, and they get Rashee Rice back, which means Patrick Mahomes now has Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Tyquan Thornton, which feels weird to say that, but he has been a deep ball threat, and Travis Kelce. We're getting, I think, overall one of Patrick Mahomes' best pass-catching groups he's had, as far as, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce when they were at their top elite. Yeah, I still take that over what we have now. But I think as a whole, a complete Patrick Mahomes has a great arsenal of weapons. So if you want to go that route, I'm fine with that. On the other side of the Washington-Dallas game, this one is more of a tournament line, but I want to say it for cash as well. But Dak Prescott at 6,500. CeeDee Lamb said he's playing this week, which means we are getting CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens against Washington. So do with that as you will. Cheaper, I'm looking at Caleb Williams at 5,800 against New Orleans at home. The weather might be a factor. We'll kind of look at that if the weather starts to be ugly going into that one. Caleb Williams will probably fall behind, but I definitely think he's worth mentioning at 5,800 for cash. That's pretty much cash. Justin Herbert is close for me, but he's more of a tournament play. Justin Fields, kind of the same thing, more of a tournament play. So moving on to running backs. Running backs, we have a couple different scenarios that we could go. Jonathan Taylor, if you can afford to pay that price point at 8,800, go for it. Kind of saw what happened with Puka Nacua, but Puka Nacua did get hurt. But the behind it, right, if Puka has a bad game, which Puka got hurt, so we can't really, but if a player at that price point underperforms, you have to have a lot of value go off and be different from the field if you are losing out on a player that is that expensive. So Jonathan Taylor's a good play. You just have to find some value at it. Running back, there's not as much value. We get a couple good 6K running backs, but as far as like cheap, there's not a lot. Javonte Williams at 6,700 is another name I want to throw out there in cash, to where he had a stinker last week. If you played him, you're probably disappointed, but the rest of the season, he's been pretty damn good. Granted, we're getting him at a big price tag, but in a game total that is 55, and Javonte being pretty good in the red zone at 6,700, I definitely think he's worth mentioning. Breece Hall at 6,300 at home against Carolina, to where, yeah, same thing last week. He had a pretty bad matchup against Denver, though, but he still got 22 carries. He did not get anything in the receiving game, which he typically has so far this season. So at 6,300, I think Breece Hall, with Garrett Wilson kind of being out, Carolina, one of those hot and cold teams. Bryce Young definitely turns the ball over, so we could see a couple touchdowns out of Breece Hall with Garrett Wilson out, seeing Breece Hall get a couple more targets as well. JCM, same thing as Javonte. Getting any piece of this game is kind of where I'm at. At 6,100, I definitely think he's good. Granted, yet again, another running back that disappointed last week, but still a guy that got a lot of opportunities. Chris Rodriguez has been banged up in practice, so we'll watch that status. If he's out, then, JCM pretty much gets a lot of that volume. It's not going to be all of that. That's not how Washington's had their running back room ever since Kingsbury's been calling plays. So JCM will, I would assume, get a majority of the work. Judkins, though, at 6K at home against Miami, where the weather looks pretty bad. Looks like it's going to be a windy game, a rainy game. I would look for someone like Judkins, who's been one of the, I don't want to say best, one of the better actual ground game running backs we've had in the league this season. So at 6K, Judkins seems like a very, very good play, and one of those running backs that fit the mold if you're going for a mid-tier build this week. I will mention, I haven't seen a lot of people talk about him. Kamara, if he's healthy at 5,900 on the road against the Bears. Granted, the rain that's supposed to hit could affect, but that would mean Kamara get more carries. Could see Kendre Miller get a few more carries. But the news of Kamara just saying, hey, if I get traded, I'm out type of situation, I think these Saints are going to find a way to utilize Kamara. He's cheap. He hasn't performed well, but the price tag I definitely think fits some builds. So we'll mention Kamara. Moving on to wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb at 7,500 at home against Washington. Yes, I get it. He's coming back from an injury. But when CeeDee Lamb is on the field, he is a top 5 receiver in the league, undoubtedly. He had 2 20-plus performances against the Giants, against Philly, and that's without getting a touchdown. He got the 100-yard bonus in both of them. I would look at CeeDee Lamb, especially for his price point. We're getting him the cheapest that we've gotten him this season, so I love him in that matchup. Rome Odunze, yet again, watch the weather. If the weather's going to be ugly, probably stay away from Rome. But if the weather's not that bad, I do like Rome Odunze. Jalen Waddle, though, yet again, this one, also watch the weather. If the weather's going to be ugly, there's going to be wind, I stay away from Waddle. If the weather is good, I think Waddle's in an amazing spot against Cleveland, but that weather definitely will play an impact one way or the other. This is something to watch out for going into Sunday. Deebo Samuel's not practiced. Terry McLaurin has not practiced. This is pretty tough for Washington. If both of Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel are out, I believe Noah Brown just hit the injured reserve too. So what are we looking at in that game? And granted, this is a later game, right? Deebo Samuel is going to be a popular play if Terry McLaurin is out, and that's kind of what we're going to lean towards, is McLaurin being out. So watch Deebo's status. But this game is a 325 game. So you're going to have to make that decision if you're going to go Deebo, or, maybe you punt and go a different route. But if they're out, we're stuck with Luke McCaffrey at 4,100, Lane at 3,800, and Moore at 3K. All three of these wide receivers are in play. I would probably look at Luke McCaffrey. He's been one of the more consistent guys for Washington. He's had that touchdown upside. But Moore, Lane, both those guys definitely playable as well. And this is all if Deebo and McLaurin are out. I think you could go any of these guys in cash if both McLaurin and Deebo are out. It's not the greatest plays, but at their price points in this matchup, yes, I definitely think they're playable in cash if both Deebo and Terry are out. Continue to go down. One of the guys I haven't seen talked about a lot this week is Courtland Sutton at 5,900. Like, we're getting Courtland Sutton at the cheapest we've gotten him this season in a very favorable matchup. He just came off, yet again, I love targeting players like this to where it's not like AJ Brown situation to where Denver's just going to be so good at running the ball and tush pushes to where they don't need to use AJ Brown some games. Like Courtland Sutton, he's going to be needed a lot. We've seen the Jets shut down people, and when I say shut down people, I mean Sauce Gardner, everybody else kind of skeptical. But the Giants are not notorious for shutting down wide receivers. Stop wide receivers sometimes, yes, but not shutting them down. So Courtland Sutton at 5,900, I think he's in a great spot. I definitely think his ownership is going to be lower. I think he's a really, really good cash play. Rashee Rice, though, at 5,600, this is pretty much where everyone's going to be at. As Rashee Rice at the cheapest, we're probably going to see him this season, unless he gets hurt. but he's just in an amazing spot at 5,600. Definitely want to target it. Keenan Allen, this one, I think people are going to be off Keenan Allen because of the last 3 performances. We've seen some pretty duds, I think is safe to say. I mean, we had him below 5K, and now he's at 5,500. I think he's still in a really good spot. I think you could go a lot of scenarios with this Chargers team. You can go Keenan Allen. You can go Ladd McConkey. I'm fine with it. But Keenan Allen at 5,500, he's up there in the targets in the red zone as well. He's a red zone threat for the Chargers. We've seen games to where Indy gets a lead and the other team is just forced to pass the ball. Indy's a really good defense against running backs. So I want to target Keenan Allen, Ladd McConkey in this one. Continue to go down. Michael Pittman is interesting at 5,100, and that's if Josh Downs is out, but I don't think he's a must. It's just if Josh Downs is out, look at that one. One of the things I will say, and this isn't for cash, but it could be essentially. We'll look at it because it's a tough matchup, and there's somebody else better. But Trey Tucker could be without Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers, so look out for that one. Chiefs, the only reason this wouldn't be a for sure lock cash play is the Chiefs have a really good secondary. So it is skeptical, but if Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers are both out, Trey Tucker is kind of the number 1 pass catcher on that team. So I do like that one. Other than that, there's not a lot here for cash. I will shout out Eric Iomanner at 4,200. If Calvin Ridley is out, I think he's a really good pay down price for a cash play if you want to get there. I don't think you need to get there, but he's been a guy that's been pretty consistent for the Chargers as far as like a number 2 type of player. With Calvin Ridley being out, I do like Iron Manor at his price point. Like I said, it's not a for sure cash play, but if you're looking to get there in cash, I think it's there. Tight ends is... There's a lot of good plays. I'm going to talk about a few, though. Trey McBride at 5,700. Marvin Harrison kind of banged up. Seems like we're going to get Kyler back. Green Bay's been really bad against tight ends. I think it's a really good bounce-back spot for Kyler Murray and Trey McBride, where we saw them against Tennessee. Yeah, we had a stinker there. So it's a really good spot. Granted, Jacoby Brissett, we see Trey McBride have his best game he's had of the season. 8 receptions, 72 yards, and a touchdown for him. With the running back room looking very ugly, and Green Bay plays running backs pretty good, I look at the pass game and I look at Trey McBride. Tyler Warren, yet again, I'm not as big on Tyler Warren this week, though. I'd either rather pay up for Trey McBride or pay down for a couple spots. But Tyler Warren, 5,200, yet again, he's been one of the best tight ends this season, one of the most consistent tight ends this season. They're finding ways to get him the ball every week, it seems. So at 5,200, I think he's in the cash pool. But if I'm looking at cash, I'm going down. If I'm not getting Trey McBride, if I can't afford him in my lineups, Harold Fannin Jr., granted, weather plays a factor, but David Njoku has not practiced this week. Miami's been terrible against tight ends this season. Obviously, you're going to have to make that decision if you're playing Quinshon Judkins. I probably don't play both Judkins and Fannin in this slate. I would go one or the other. So if you're playing Judkins, I don't play Fannin. If you're not playing Judkins, I think Fannin is a really, really good play this week, especially if David Njoku is out. But then we get to the cheaper tight ends, and we get to Michael Mayer at 3,500. Granted, Kansas City plays good against tight ends, but we saw it last week. Michael Mayer, 5 for 50 and a touchdown. We've seen it earlier this season as well. He got some work. And now Brock Bowers, it seems like they're going to play it safe. They're going to keep Brock Bowers out of this matchup. They have the bye week next week. Bring him back healthy and try to make a push towards the end of the season, which we don't think is going to happen, but anything is possible. And then Mason Taylor, 3,400. It seems like Garrett Wilson's out, right? So who is there for the pass catchers? There's not a lot. Tyler Johnson, Josh Reynolds, Allen Lazard. There's not a lot. Mason Taylor is kind of the guy I'm looking at 3,400. I will say this. When you're making your cash builds, I'm not going to hate double stacking tight ends, right? I think Trey McBride is if you compare him to wide receivers, he's a really good play at wide receiver at the 5,700 price point. And then we get these guys that you could pay down for. A Michael Mayer, a Mason Taylor. Both these guys are in amazing spots. And we're not going to find a 3,500 pass catcher that projects as good, especially at their price points, as Michael Mayer and Mason Taylor. Both these guys are in amazing spots, and I really look at them at cash. Defenses, this one to me, I'm okay with paying up for Denver this week. I think a lot of people are going to be, overlooking what the Giants did against Philly. Denver's defense just had a really good game against the Jets. Saw what they did against Philly. They had a really good game there. But the sacks, they are on pace to be the most sacks in a season by a defense. The takeaways will come, right? This is Jackson Dart. This is a banged up wide receiver room in the Giants, to where you have, I would say, a top 5, top 7 defensive back team. So I like Denver. I like them to get some takeaways in this game at 3,500. The Patriots at 3,400 against Tennessee. This is a Mike Vrabel game here. Mike Vrabel is going to want to beat this team very badly. They're going to show they made a mistake by getting rid of him and then firing the coach. Not even 2 seasons later, or maybe 3 seasons. I'm sorry, 3 seasons, and he's gone. So. Yeah, I'm looking at the Patriots defense at 3,400 as well. If we're looking at cheap defenses, I think, weather permitted, the Saints defense is interesting at 2,300. That's weather permitted. The Panthers defense, 2,500 against the Jets. This one as well. You can go the same route, the Jets against Carolina. But I think with the injury to Garrett Wilson, if Carolina could stop the run, I think it's a really good spot for them, 2,500. So let's do a build. I'm going to do a build based off of players I like in this one. So let's put Jane Daniels. Let's put Judkins. Let's go defense. Let's go cheaper. I'm going to go the Bears just to get that. I want to get Trey McBride, and I can. Like I said, I want to double stack my tight ends. So let's go down to the tight ends here, and let's go with a Michael Mayer. Let's go Michael Mayer. Wide receivers. So if I have Jaden Daniels, I want to get CeeDee Lamb in there. Obviously, I'm going to get Rashee Rice in there. We're left with 5,800. We could go a couple different routes. Let's say... Let's say for the sake of the video, Debo plays. And we're left with 5,500. And I could go Ramondre. I don't love it, but I could go Ramondre. I could go that route. If not, we could pay down for Debo. And we can go with a... we could go with a Keenan Allen. And then we're left with 6,200. So we can't get Breece Hall. So what if we pay down at defense a little more? And what if we go with Carolina? And then we're left with 68. And then we could get someone like a Javonte. But I have Lamb. So let's go Breece Hall. We have an extra 500. Let's just reevaluate defense. Browns against Miami. If the game is ugly, I could see that. We'll go Carolina just for the sake of it. Obviously we could then we could possibly switch it up if we're stuck on that, and we could go with no, we're getting Cortland Sutton. We're getting Sutton, and there it is. Going over just players that I like on this slate, that is an example cash build that you guys can use as a reference point. Whether you agree or disagree, you could totally say that I am completely wrong on this, and I'm fine with that. I've been wrong before. I'm going to be wrong again. It's going to happen, but I hope this video helped you guys. Hope you guys enjoy the content, and I will see you in the next one.